If I told you that the person you least expect could completely change your life in just a few minutes, just imagine, you, full of certainties, prejudices, thinking you know everything about the world, and suddenly a single encounter completely transforms your perspective. We live in a society where we judge faster than we breathe, where youthful arrogance seems to be the fuel that drives entire generations. But what if this bubble of ego could burst in a single moment of pure revelation? In this video, you will discover a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about respect, about strength, about humanity. This is not just another video, it is an encounter that will show you how true wisdom has no age, no color, no limits. Get ready for a journey that goes beyond what your eyes can see and that will touch every cell of your existence. Are you ready to break all your paradigms and understand that life is much more than it seems? Then hit play and prepare yourself for the most powerful lesson you have ever received. On the busy Jefferson Avenue, the afternoon silence was broken by the typical noise of public transport in Elmwood. An African-American gentleman, whose steps revealed a story of resilience, slowly climbed the bus steps, carrying not only a shopping bag, but decades of accumulated experience. His cane, worn by time, seemed to be more than just a physical support. It was a symbol of strength and dignity that transcended any apparent limitation. The passengers, absorbed in their own worlds, barely noticed the presence of the man who carried with him an aura of wisdom. His eyes, deep as an ocean of memories, scanned the interior of the bus with a calm that only comes from someone who has faced battles greater than the simple daily grind. The humility in his movements contrasted with the intensity of his presence, as if each step was a silent lesson in perseverance and maturity. The veteran chose a seat at the back, away from the hustle and bustle at the front, but no less present. His posture, even while seated, screamed integrity and compassion. The wrinkles on his face were not marks of fragility, but maps of a journey filled with overcoming, each line telling a story of courage that few could comprehend. The environment around him seemed frozen, as if everyone unconsciously recognized the greatness of the man who simply sought a moment of tranquility. The doors of Lincoln High School closed, releasing a wave of youthful energy overflowing with arrogance and irreverence. 4 teenagers, still at the height of the typical impulsiveness of their age, carried an explosive mix of testosterone and a desire to stand out. Their steps were heavy, their laughter loud enough to draw the attention of everyone on the bus, clearly demonstrating that they sought to provoke and challenge any authority that came their way. The group, led by a boy with a cap turned backward, the ultimate symbol of youthful rebellion, swept the bus with mocking glances, like predators looking for easy prey. Social tolerance seemed to have transformed into barren land, where empathy had been completely replaced by an almost pathological need to humiliate and belittle others. Their words cut through the air like sharp blades, each comment designed to hurt, each laugh planned to destroy the dignity of another. The passengers, silent witnesses to that scene, sank deeper into their individual bubbles, some on their phones, others pretending not to see, all united by the cowardly fear of getting involved. It was as if an invisible pact of omission had been sealed, where education and respect had been replaced by a culture of indifference. The elderly gentleman, the target of that verbal aggression, remained motionless, his posture a stark contrast to the storm of provocations forming around him. The silence that followed was charged with an almost palpable tension, as if the air was about to rupture with the force of a truth kept hidden for decades. The veteran raised his eyes, not with anger, but with a depth that made the young people instinctively retreat, sensing they were about to dive into waters much deeper than they had imagined. His voice, when it finally broke the silence, was like a whisper echoing with the force of thunder, gentle, yet absolutely devastating in its clarity and intensity. "When I was your age," he began, each word dripping with wisdom that only comes from facing the most brutal horrors of human existence, "I carried something much heavier than this cane." The teenagers, once so full of themselves, now seemed to shrink, captured by a narrative that completely transcended their youthful understanding. The veteran painted with words the landscapes of Vietnam, not as an action movie, but as a real nightmare where courage was measured not by bravado, but by the ability to survive. Takin. The transformation on the bus was almost magical. Each word from the veteran disarmed not only the young people but all the passengers, revealing layers of humanity that were hidden beneath the surface of everyday indifference. He was not just talking about war, but about fear, about loss, about the fragility of human life. His eyes, when describing the true essence of fear, not the fear of being provoked, but the fear of losing life every second, carried an intensity that penetrated deeper than any teenage provocation could reach. True leadership does not manifest through shouting or imposing, but through the ability to transform a moment of conflict into an opportunity for growth. The veteran, with a wisdom that overflowed from each word, began to unveil to those impulsive young people the real meaning of strength, not as physical demonstration, but as inner integrity. His hands, marked by years of experience, gestured gently, as if he were shaping abstract concepts in a fertile ground of youthful ignorance. "True strength," he said, his voice laden with compassion, "does not lie in humiliating others, but in understanding the humanity that exists in every being." The teenagers, once so sure of themselves, now seemed like children before an ancestral mentor. Each word from the veteran was like a chisel sculpting new perspectives, in minds that had never been challenged to think beyond their bubble of arrogance. The discipline he described was not an external imposition, but an internal construction of character and respect. As he shared his lessons, the veteran was not just speaking, but creating an environment of deep reflection. He offered practical examples of how true courage manifests, through empathy, understanding, and love for others. It was not a lecture, but an intimate conversation that invited each young person to look within themselves, to question their own behavior patterns, and to seek a path of maturity and personal growth. The silence that followed was different from all the previous ones. It was no longer a silence of tension, but of deep reflection and inner transformation. The teenagers, once so full of arrogance, now seemed small in the face of the magnitude of the lesson they had just received. Their expressions changed completely. The challenging looks gave way to a vulnerability that only arises when true wisdom touches the heart of someone who was closed to learning. Each apology was more than just simple words. It represented a moment of personal overcoming, a rite of passage from ignorance to understanding. The smallest of the group, visibly more sensitive, was the first to break the ice, his voice trembling with a mix of shame and admiration. "We're sorry," he said, looking into the veteran's eyes with an intensity that revealed a deep internal transformation. The others, once so united in their provocation, now seemed embarrassed, their bodies bent not in defeat, but in humility. The passengers, once mere silent spectators, were now witnessing something rare, a moment of collective growth. Some smiled discreetly, others had tears in their eyes, all united by the emotion of seeing compassion triumph over arrogance. The dignity of the veteran was not in his aggressive response, but in his ability to educate without judging, to correct without humiliating. It was as if each of his words was a seed of hope being planted in the arid ground of disrespect. The veteran's final words hung in the air like a whisper of ancestral wisdom, touching every soul present in that small universe of the bus. "Be kind to one another, you never know the battle someone is fighting," he said, his voice laden with a compassion that transcended generations. Each syllable was like a gift of knowledge, a legacy of respect that went far beyond mere words, transforming into a life lesson that few have the chance to experience. The reflection that followed was almost palpable. It was as if each person there had been invited to look within themselves, to question their own patterns of behavior and judgment. The veteran was not just speaking, he was planting seeds of transformation, offering a perspective that few can comprehend so deeply. His war experience had not embittered him, but had made him a beacon of humanity, a living example of how resilience can elevate us above our own limitations. The young people, once so lost in their arrogance, now seemed like small learners, thirsty for knowledge. Their looks, once challenging, were now filled with a mix of admiration and humility. It was as if the veteran had opened a window in their minds, allowing a new air of understanding and empathy to enter, sweeping away the remnants of prejudice and ignorance. The lesson was clear. True strength lies not in bringing others down, but in lifting everyone up with compassion and respect. And then, my friend, the moment to make a difference arrived. After this incredible journey, after all this transformation you just witnessed, what will be your choice? Will you continue to be just another passive spectator of life, or will you become the protagonist of your own story of change? I want you to reflect. How many times have you failed to be kind out of pure pride? How many opportunities for growth have you missed by not being open to learning? The true revolution begins within you. I challenge you to do 3 things today. Choose one person you would normally judge and try to listen to them with compassion. Practice a completely unexpected act of kindness. Reflect on your own limitations and how you can overcome them. Do you want to continue learning lessons that can change your life? Subscribe now to this channel. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for content that goes far beyond the ordinary. Each video is an opportunity for growth, transformation, to become a better version of yourself. Don't miss this chance. Get inspired, learn, and transform your life.